It's still a year away from the launch of Vermont's 250th remembrance of the start of the Revolutionary War and the state's role in that. 1775 saw the start of the conflict which led to the original 13 colonies separating from Great Britain, and while Vermont was not yet formally a state, there was still plenty of revolutionary activity happening in Bennington County. Next year, on May 10th, will mark the 250th anniversary of the assault on Fort Ticonderoga, located on the south end of Lake Champlain, where Ethan Allen led a force of Green Mountain Boys and members of the Massachusetts and Connecticut militia in a successful surprise attack on the British-held fort. The cannons they captured were instrumental in breaking the siege of Boston the following year, in 1776. Next year, in 2025, a march up Route 7A through Bennington County will retrace the steps that the force took on their way to Fort Ticonderoga. But as Jonah Spivak, a member of the 250th Commission, and Bill Budde, the curator of the Russell Collection at the Martha Canfield Library in Arlington, remind us, remembrances of the Revolutionary era have already been underway. In East Arlington, where Remember Baker, a relative of Ethan and Ira Allen, ran a grist mill and was taken prisoner in 1772 by the British, growing out of land conflicts with the royal authorities. That's where we caught up with Jonah and Bill, who take it from there.
Yeah, 250th anniversary of what? We actually started thinking about the 250th years ago. Our first one was in 2021 with the Breckenridge standoff. And then in 2022, what do we do?
Remember Baker.
Remember Baker, East Arlington's.
Remember Baker.
How can we forget? So, and of course that happened right here in East Arlington. And one of the things that we needed to do was to establish another memorial for Remember Baker. Of course, there is one up the road. We'll go there in a minute, but let's give a reminder for folks what this new marker is going to look like. Now, the wording...
Historic marker.
New historic marker from the state of Vermont. The language from this might be tweaked a little bit because I know they made some edits, but this will give you a sense of what this new marker will look like, and it's going to be literally in this location behind where we're standing now. So that's going to be an additional marker for Remember Baker because in 2022, that was the 250th anniversary of that. So now we're thinking ahead to the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. That's coming in 2026, but our story starts earlier than that.
Founding of Vermont is one of the big stories, and the capture of Fort Ticonderoga.
That's going to be our big start.
Yeah.
So, Jonah, remind us, who was Remember Baker?
Well, first of all, it's not just Remember Baker, it's also his wife. It's Remember and Desire Baker. What a power couple name. And of course, we're here at the Remember Baker Monument. Just behind us, there's the grist mill that was his grist mill when he first came here, and he was actually given some land. Is that correct?
50 acres of land.
In order to, because such a vital service, they felt that that was a worthy recompense for him to do that. So as we think back and think about people like Remember Baker and his wife Desire, our next stage is to lay the table, if you will, for what we'll be doing for the 250th events coming up. And as Bill said, our real kickoff is next year in 2025 with the capture of Fort Ticonderoga. But what are we doing this year? This year is our chance to let the world know that these anniversaries are coming and how valuable and important they are, and to do a little fundraising so we can have the kind of events and activities that we hope to have for the next 3 years.
We started to do some of that in our area here in Arlington, Sandgate, and Sunderland by making sure the select boards have passed the resolution supporting the 250th anniversary. So.
Yeah, that's correct. So far, correct me if I've missed anybody, but we have Dorset, Manchester, Sunderland, Arlington, Shaftesbury, Bennington. That's a pretty good start.
Yeah, it's a great start.
We want to have every of the 17 towns and villages in southwestern Vermont sign that resolution. So if you haven't done it yet, maybe suggest that to your select board or your town leaders so that could happen. It would be great if we were the first county in Vermont to get that done.
Everybody on board.
Absolutely.
So will there be a connection between the Battle Day Parade this year and all of this?
Yes. So that will kind of be our kickoff, if you will. Two things will be happening on Battle Day weekend in addition to the normal weekend events that we would have. So I do want to mention on Friday, that is the commemoration at the Bennington battlefield. In Bennington? No, in nearby Walloomsac, New York. I'll let this car go by. The festivities continue on Saturday, and this is where the big stuff for the 250th is happening for this summer. During the day, we'll be having a Liberty Pole raising event in conjunction with the Food Truck Festival in Bennington, Vermont. That'll be going from about 10 in the morning till 3 p.m. The ceremony will be at 2 p.m. And if you've never seen a Liberty Pole raising, you probably haven't, but that was the kind of thing that colonists were doing to show their dissatisfaction with the King of England before we started shooting at each other. And being the year before the start of the Revolution, 250 years ago, it's kind of an appropriate thing for us to be doing.
So a lot of people remember the Liberty Tree in the Boston area, which was emblazoned on all sorts of things and had become a symbol for the American Revolution up here in the New England states.
And then that evening, we're going to have a gala dinner honoring this kickoff for these 250th anniversaries. That is a ticketed event. We would love to get as many folks as possible to buy tickets to come to the Equinox Hotel, and this is all happening on August 17th. So there'll be the Liberty Pole raising in Bennington, and then that evening, the gala dinner at the Equinox Hotel. And I should mention that their chef there is putting together a very special meal for us. It will be 4 or 5 or 6 courses of historic 18th century dishes with a modern flair, as he put it. And I can tell you, we tried some samples. It's going to be delicious. There'll also be some 18th century music, as well as a silent auction, thanks to the Manchester Business Association that's being partners with us in this event.
That's going to be really exciting. Looking forward to that.
So,
especially the food.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So that's what we have planned for this summer. Lots more to come as the 250th really get going, and we look for you and your support to get us started this summer, August 17th. And I would point out, as Bill did earlier, that the culmination of all this is not in 2026 with the Declaration of Independence. Of course, that's vitally important. But the following year, we want to use that excitement to propel us towards our own signature anniversary year in 2027 with the founding of Vermont and the battles of Hubbardton and Bennington. Remember, the Vermont Constitution was enacted a full 10 years before the U.S. Constitution. So we were the first constitution on the entire North American continent. Something worthy of remembering.
I think something else that people forget about is, in terms of Vermont history, this was the first capital of Vermont. The governor lived here. All the big meetings that were held here took place down the road on East Arlington Road. It's really important, I think, that we take advantage of that momentum and recognize that.
We should seize the moment, inspire the next generation of the stewards of our history, let our youth know through our educational efforts and things like we're doing this year and for the next few years to get them excited about the amazing history that we have right here in our hometowns.
Yeah.
There's more to come with the 250th commemoration. Observances will also include not only the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, but also the Battle of Bennington in 1777, and a convention in Dorset that same year that helped draft the state's constitution. Stay tuned for more. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.